Hi, it's Jared from Touring Camper. It's the end of January and we're finally getting back into Tilly. We had some things happen over Christmas with some extended family that we had to take care of some things, so I'm finally getting back into it. We're going to start working on electrical and plumbing, and that's the goal next before we go have some axles fixed once the ground hardens up again. So we're working on electrical. I've got some kiddos helping me. We've been testing all kinds of things out. We're going to show some video of that, and I'm going to definitely be asking some questions because there's a couple things that have me completely puzzled. I've been taking notes on what's on what breakers, what's on what fuses on the inverter, and there's some things that completely don't make sense. So I'm going to talk through that a little bit as we do some video and ask some questions, and hopefully some of you folks can help me out. So thanks for watching and following along as we're working on the 1976 Silver Streak. What goes off there?
Bathroom.
Okay. Flash, is the blue light off?
No.
Okay. What comes back on? Everything?
Yep.
Sweet pea, what's off?
The front lights.
Okay. Flash, is the blue light on?
No.
Okay. Now what's on? Everything back on?
Yes. Other than the bathroom.
Okay. What's off now?
Everything but the bunk lights.
Okay.
But the outside light is still on.
Okay.
Everything back on.
Okay.
Other than bathroom.
Alright, and we're back, and as you can see, we were testing a whole bunch of things. I've tested things. There's breakers outside that are on the 110. There's also an inverter that has fuses on it. So what we were testing is what's running off the inverters, what's running off the fuses, and then there's some things that have me completely mystified. So for example, the AC, all of the outlets, those all will run 110 only. Makes perfect sense. No questions asked there. There are other things that if I flip the breaker or I disconnect from 110, they go a little dim, which means they're definitely running on the 12-volt system. Things like the lights up here in the front, a couple of the max air vents, the front and the back max air vent, the shower light, the outside scare light. All of those are definitely the overhead discs. They are running through the inverter and then up to the fuse box, because if I flip the breaker, then they just dim. If I flip the breaker and pull the fuse on the inverter, they go completely off. There are some other things that I just can't even figure out at all. The bunk 12 volts, the radio, the rear bath lights, and the middle max air vent. No matter what I do, if I flip breakers or if I pull out fuses, I cannot get them to turn off. The only way they turn off is if I'm not on 110 or not on 12 volt. Disconnect the battery. If I have one of those two connected, they will run. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. So I'm still digging into that a little bit. And if anyone has any suggestions on that very thing, I would love some feedback. Because what it appears to me is those items aren't running through the fuse panel and they're not running through the inverter. So I don't know whether they're hardwired someplace and they're not fused or not breakered, but I'm just not sure on that. And I'll show you what I mean on the outside. We'll take the Osmo outside and show that. So, alright, so here's where the fuse panel is. You can see that it's coming, the cord's coming in there. That's where the fuse panel is. And down here is where the inverter is. So we've narrowed it down that, for example, the front max air vent. The front max air vent, if it's running on 30 amp and I flip the breaker that I know is for that, if I flip the breaker off, then it will still run, but it slows down, which tells me it's now running just off the 12 volt with the inverter. If I leave this on and I pull the fuse for it, which is, let me just see here, front and rear max air vents, I pull the fuse for it, it will still run. So it's now still running on 110. So I'm not exactly sure what that means and how that works. But then the more perplexing one is the middle max air vent. The only way to shut it off is to unplug from 110 and unplug from the 12 volt. If I have either one of those plugged in, it will still be running.